Hi, and welcome to Palo TV. I'm Steve Roitstein. What you're about to witness is an instructional video on how to create a very simple rider and stage plot using the capabilities of Microsoft Word. Now, there are probably some very much more efficient ways of doing this. However, this assignment for my Music Business 3 class at Miami Dade College is intended to meet the course competency of learning how to do these kind of documents with a word processor such as Microsoft Word. If you're not a student, I hope you enjoy this instructional video and maybe it inspires you to take some courses or perhaps at least subscribe to the channel, click the little bell so that you get notifications when new videos are uploaded, and it's happening on a pretty regular basis now because we're using this way of teaching. So for some students, it's a little bit more easy to follow than a bunch of written instructions. So what are we looking at here? We're looking at up here in the upper left corner, there's a little piece of a kind of a famous writer from Van Halen. The late, great Eddie Van Halen's band used to have this thing in their hospitality rider about the dressing room. M&M's, warning in all caps, absolutely no brown ones. And there's a story behind that I'm not going to talk about right now. We're not going to do a hospitality rider, but you'll see soon what we get into. This thing over here is a hand-drawn stage plot. I guess it was functional for whatever somebody used it for. Who knows? As long as it does the job, I guess. Over here is on the lower left-hand side. It looks like that stage plot was created using some sort of software, which there's a bunch out there. So if you do a search, you can find websites that actually help you do this. So it might be a lot easier than what we're going to do today. But what we're going to accomplish today not only creates a simple stage plot and writer, but also helps you develop your skills with Microsoft Word, which is part of what this course is supposed to accomplish. So I'm going to switch over right now to the assignment page for the students that are in this class. This is available on Blackboard, and it's got a link here to one of the sites. So if a student is taking this class and they prefer to use that method, they can. I recommend you go through this, or at least some of this assignment, so that you get your Microsoft Word chops maximized here. We're going to end up with a 2-page document, and it's going to be a PDF, but we're going to start out with Microsoft Word. So I'm just going to kind of take off. I already opened Microsoft Word, and this is just a regular blank document. It's called Document 1 right now. That's not going to work for the class. So I'm going to start out by going to the File menu, choosing Save As, and giving it a name according to the class standards that we use, which is first initial, last name, and the name of the assignment. This project is called Writer. And I'm just going to save it on my desktop. Click Save. There we go. All right. And I'm just jumping back and forth between the open documents by holding down on my Mac the Command key and hitting Tab. And what that allows you to do is to switch on this operating system between different applications that are currently open. So I can go back to the browser, and it's telling me a bunch of stuff. This is kind of a fictional situation where you, the student, or you now are getting employed by a band, and they wanted you to kind of make their new rider for them. And if you choose to follow this as the model, that's fine. You can do your own as long as there are at least 3 people on stage. That will be sufficient. So the first thing we're going to do, which is written down here, is to add a header. And for a simple 2-page rider stage plot, it's not that big of a deal, but it's very helpful to have it on all the different pages. Once your rider starts getting a little bit more lengthy, there might be different sections. And it's possible that, let's say, you do have some catering requests in there, hospitality, travel, ground transportation, and it had specific requirements. The talent buyer might not necessarily be personally taking care of all those things, him or herself. So it could be quite possible that that talent buyer would take 1 page out of the rider and send it to a catering company or a sound company or just an individual person without having to send them the entire rider. And then they would say, take care of this. If you have any questions, contact the people in the group. So that's why we're going to make sure that the header appears on all of the pages. Somewhere in here, there's a header. And it got changed, and I'll find it here eventually. I'm looking for it. Insert would be a really logical place for it to be. I'm not seeing it there. So it's probably, oh, here it is on view. View, header, and footer. Okay, so the view menu is where I'm going to type that. The assignment is asking for this. So I'm going to pretend that I'm the student. I copied this information here from the assignment page. And I'm not going to do a regular paste. I don't want the formatting or anything. I'm just going to do paste special and paste in their unformatted text. All right, now that I've got it in there, I'm going to go to the Home tab here so that I can mess around with it. I'm going to center it. I'm going to put my name. Of course, your name is going to go on the name of the file and here. And I'm going to call myself representative. The name of this fictitious band that I'm creating here, Squeaky Toy Boy. And I'm just going to put a fake email here. Of course, that is not a domain that is available, I'm sure. And I'm going to put a fake phone number. +1. That's always good. Parentheses. Area code. The good old 305 from Miami. Space. And then I'm just going to put a fake exchange and a fake last 4 numbers. So that's all the necessary contact info. After the email, if you press return, that's kind of a nice thing because it automatically makes Microsoft Word realized that this should be a hyperlink. So that's good. All right, save, Command S. Now I've got the header there. So now I'm ready to start messing around with this first page of the document. And I'm just going to go back to the assignment page and grab all this stuff, even though it's going to get changed, but it'll give me some ideas. Once again, if you would like to use this other fictitious band, which is a 4-piece band, and use all the specifics, you're welcome to do so. I'm going to kind of do something else. Probably the most useful thing for you to do if you are representing a band or you are an artist is to do something that would work for you. The only requirement is has to have at least 3 people in the band, and you can copy some of these things so that you can get used to this idea. All right, so here I am in the main portion just to type words. I copied that information, and I'm going to once again use paste special, unformatted text. Oops, I guess I didn't copy it. Now I'm going to. Let me try that again. Paste special, unformatted text, and there it is. So I'm going to sort of reformat this stuff. I'm going to center this so that it looks like a title. Let me copy this here so I don't have to type it again. There we go. I'm going to put it in bold so it looks important and make the font a little bigger. I want you, for this assignment, to stay consistent with your font. I'm using the default of this version of Microsoft Word, which is Calibri. I'm not sure how to say it. I like it. It looks clean, contemporary. I'm good with it. I'm going to also make this in bold. And I'm going to make a bullet list out of these things. I'm going to remind you it's a very, very simple project compared to what a real rider and stage plot would be like. Okay, this is good. Stage measuring at least 30 feet wide by 20 feet deep, free of hazardous conditions. Perfect. I'm going to change this for Avion personal monitoring mixing systems or equivalent to 3 because there are only 3 people in this ensemble, fake ensemble. 3 vocal mics, the famous Shure SM58 or equivalent on compact boom stands. And I'm going to change this 1 keyboard to 3 keyboards with this particular keyboard and an ultimate support stand, but 3 of them. And I'm going to change this to 6 direct boxes. We're going to explain that in a minute. Going to get rid of all this guitar, drums, and bass stuff. Three 110 volt power quad outlets of power with power strip for keyboards. Keyboard setups. I'll put that for now. So I kind of simplified it a little bit. Save. All right, for now, we're done with this first page. Now we want to go to the second page, which is going to be the stage plot itself. A convenient thing to do is instead of hitting return a bunch of times, I'm going to go to the big insert menu way at the top and choose break and page break. Now, what's nice about this is that automatically you start out clean on the next page. That's very useful because if for some reason you end up with more text here or less, it's not going to change the formatting of the second page because it's going to start out right at the top of the page. So it's a useful thing to know how to do. And you can see that the contact information of this band's representative is available should it be needed. All right. So here we go. We're going to start by looking a little bit, once again, at this rider that we're inheriting. This is a very common thing to do. Just work off of somebody else's rider and adapt it for yourself. All right. We're going to work with this stage. I want to make sure that I can see the ruler in Microsoft Word. I want to make a stage that is this minimum dimensions, 30 by 20 feet. Okay, how do I do that? I'm glad you asked that question. I'm going to go to the little Insert tab here and go to Shapes. And I'm going to choose a rectangle. Once I've chosen that shape, I can now start click and drag and create a rectangle. And I just kind of eyed it there. All right. So if 1 foot equaled 1 inch, that would mean we would need 30 feet. Let's not do that. What if 1 foot equaled 5 inches? I guess that would be 6 by 4. So I'm going to see if I can do 4 by 6 up here. And I could make a little note of it, but not necessary. So that's our scale for this particular performance area or stage. It's showing in blue. I don't think that's a good look. We're going to use black and white as much as possible. Make it real easy to see. In the off chance that there's some dinosaur that is using like a copying machine or a fax machine or something, you want to make it as clear as possible so that it's visible. I'm going to double click here again. And when I double click on this thing, it shows some options over here. For fill, I'm going to select no fill. And for the line, I like the solid line. For the color, we're going to stick with black. And let's go to a nice, thick looking line, just so it's really easy. So I'm going to go to a 3-point line. And that's the stage. There we go. Wonderful. Save. 3 people. Okay. First thing I'm going to do is go to the Insert menu once again. And over here, I'm going to select a text box. Draw text box. And I'm just going to try one right here, a text box. All right, and this is going to describe the performer that goes more or less in this area. This band has 3 people in it. One is called squeaky, the second is called toy, and the third is called boy. So I'm going to start out with squeaky. All right. I'm going to center this by going back to home. Fine. It's always nice when the tech crew knows the performers' names, because if they are on a sound check with you and they need to communicate with you, you're using some sort of monitors, either speakers or in-ear monitors. They don't need to say, hey, keyboard player in the front. Well, that won't necessarily work, because maybe all the keyboard players are in the front. So if they know your name, that's very helpful. Now, what I'd like to do is reformat this by double-clicking on it. And see if I can get rid of that line. Yes. So now, this is something that if you were trying to use Microsoft Word and only use the regular text feature, this would be really tricky. Now you can click on this text box and have a lot of freedom as far as how you move it around. You can click and drag on it and move it around. You can click on it to select it and use, as I'm doing now, the up and down arrow keys of your Mac keyboard. And I'm going to say, how about right there? All right. All that does is indicate where that particular performer is located on the stage. Now, I'm going to click on my control key. You might be able to right click it. I don't have a mouse with me right now. It's just a trackpad. And when I click and drag, what it does is it creates a clone of that text box. It leaves the one that was there before. So it's control, click, and drag. And now this one is going to go over here. And this is for toy. I'm going to do the same thing again. Control click. Have the clone over here. And I'm just going to edit the name of the performer, boy. So it's a nice time saver and efficient. You don't have to go through all the steps every time. All right, perfect. Now we're going to go back to the requirements here. And I'm going to create this Aviom thing. This is a brand name. That's why it says or equivalent. Sometimes if you insist on a particular brand, you won't say that. In this case, they're flexible. It's just a thing so that each performer can kind of change, customize their mix, so they don't have to ask the monitoring engineer for changes. They can do it themselves. All right. Back to insert. Shapes. Rectangle. And I'm just going to draw something that's, I don't know, that's my idea of a keyboard. I'm going to select it. Choose. I do want the solid line, but I do not want the fill. Actually, I messed up. I'm going to get rid of this because we don't want a shape. We want a text box again. Yeah. There's a text box. And I'm going to type in there exactly what the rider says. Yamaha M06. Just going to paste it in here. I'm going to accommodate this a little bit. I'm going to center this text. So there we've got our little icon. And it's very easy to figure out because it says what it is. Yamaha M06 keyboard. I'm now going to do that same technique we used a minute ago. You could right click it or just hold down your control key, click on it, and drag the clone up here and up here because all three performers use the same brand of keyboard. If you had a slightly more complicated band, somebody was playing drums, somebody was playing guitar, other instruments, you would do that. All right. Got the keyboards in there. Next. The Aviom. I skipped over that. I'm going to do something now because there's not necessarily room everywhere to write this, so I'm going to show you a little trick that we can do. I'm going to clone this one and bring it down here. The text, I'm going to just type a capital A. All right. This is going to become a key of the different items that we have here. Now I'm going to take this one, this text box that has no line around it, and clone it. Control, click, drag. I'm going to put it kind of like in line here with this one, other one. I'm going to click on the text, go up here, and make it align to the left. And I'm going to type equals Aviom. So this is just telling people what this thing means. Get it a little closer here. All right. Now I'm going to clone this little icon here and bring one up. This is where Toy likes to have their Avion. This is where Boy likes to have theirs. And Squeaky likes to have theirs here behind. All right. I believe we've got the first two items on the bullet list. No, I skipped to the keyboards early. We're going to get the Shure SM58. Now, this is a long, drawn-out way of doing what I'm about to do, but it's going to teach you a nice technique. We're going to create the SM58 from scratch by using the shapes. So let's go to the shapes. Basic shapes, we're going to grab the oval. And we can do it nice and big. So I'm going to try and make a circle here. And you can make it an exact circle if you want to, just by typing it in here. Probably not a bad idea. Okay. The fill, black. Very good. So that's going to be the round part of the mic that you sing into. Now we're going to create the handle. Go to Insert, Shapes, and you're going to see something here that may remind you of a handle, and it's this, the trapezoid. Grab that, and I'm going to draw a trapezoid, which is upside down, but it's basically pretty close to what we want. I'm going to choose no fill. I'm going to use this rotate thing and rotate it completely all the way around. And I'm going to move it up here, sort of adjust the size of it so that it kind of starts to remind me of that SM58 look. It's a little off. Close enough. All right. So now we've got two objects. This one, the circle, and this upside down trapezoid. Here's what I would like you to do. Select the circle. Hold down your Shift key to extend the selection, and also select the handle, or whatever we're calling that, the body of the mic, I guess. If you Control click here, you've got some options. I want you to select Group. What that does, and it's not permanent, it's temporary. By the way, I want to also choose the line color to be black on everything. All right, slightly flawed. If you need to ungroup it, you just Control click and choose from Group, Ungroup, and then they're separate again. So if I needed to, like I noticed, maybe I'll take this handle and move it over just a smidgen, and then regroup them by selecting them both, Control click, and group them again. So now I can kind of do whatever I want, and clearly this is huge, but I can make it smaller by just grabbing it like that. And tweaking it until I like how it looks. Beautiful. So I'm going to bring that down here to my key. Kind of get it all organized here, lined up. I'm going to clone this little text box here. Should know already. Oops. Option, click, drag. And this one, I'm going to use the words from here. Copy. I'm going to paste it in here. That didn't work. Paste special might work better. Unformatted text. And I'm going to expand it so that it can accommodate all that. And I'm going to shorten it a little bit by saying Shure SM58 on compact boom stand. And then we need to place them more or less where they go. This would be Squeaky, toy, and boy. And clearly, this is something that doesn't need to be placed exactly. The musicians or part of their own crew can tweak stuff if the sound company has already set up the stage prior to the arrival of the group. Direct boxes. Once again, I'm going to use an icon here that I already have, clone it, bring it down here, and I'm going to type in here DI, which is short for direct injection. Try and line it up a little bit better. Borrow this, cloning this text box, get it in line, and type in here direct box. Now clearly these icons are out of proportion. It doesn't matter. It's just giving people an idea. So where would this person want the direct box? Away from their feet, clearly. So they need 2 of them. Maybe that box can be a little smaller. That would be nice. Or I'll just move the keyboard over a tiny bit. That's easier. That fits. So I know it looks huge. A direct box in this proportion is tiny. But it's just to show a picture more or less where they go. All 3 performers need 2 direct boxes because their keyboard is stereo. Clearly, if the sound company has a unit that can do it all in one, they would use that. We're not being real picky about this. Although if you are, get picky. All right. Got the direct boxes in there. Save. And finally, we want something to indicate the power strip. We're almost done. Insert, shapes, and this time we're going to use this cute little lightning bolt. I'm just going to draw it here, something small. I'm going to make it the fill color black. And I think you're probably kind of getting the routine here. I'm borrowing a text box and I want to explain what this says. Okay, power strip is good enough. The written requirements are more in detail. This is just kind of like a map. So I'm going to call this power strip. And then it just goes wherever the performer wants it, which in this case, I guess it would go maybe here. And maybe somewhere around here. We can move the avalm a little bit. It's best not to have stuff like on top of each other. Something like this should be fine. And the performer or their crew will accommodate everything. What happens back here? We don't know. Maybe they have dancers. Maybe there's a whole video set up that's not part of this assignment. So what we have right now is a document in Microsoft Word, 2 pages long. It's got all the information about their technical writer, which is, once again, extremely simplified from what it would probably be on a real one. But this is really just an assignment to show you how to use these capabilities of Microsoft Word more than anything else, and to teach you a little bit about this process. The assignment requires a PDF, and I would recommend a PDF is always better to send. You may end up with quite a few pages, or you may have just something very simple. When you start out, that's how it is. You're just lucky you have a gig. They might not even ask you anything, and you show up and do the best you can. That's at the beginning. Once you build up your bargaining power, you're going to get to this point. So we're going to save this as a PDF. The way I'm going to try to do it is by going to the File menu, choosing Save As, and for the file format, I'm going to choose Export Format PDF. Great. I'm going to select Best for Electronic Distribution and Accessibility. Export. And I'm going to put it on the desktop. Allow. And it's converting. And let's see how that works out. I thought I put it on the desktop. Yes, there it is. Let me open it up. And it's off my screen here. There it is. There's page 1. This is actually a hyperlink. That's good. If you needed to have hyperlinks in here, apparently this works. And so there it is. It's not bad, but it's clean. It's understandable. And this will meet the requirements of the assignment. So my students, what you would do is you would upload this by the due date in Blackboard. And if it's got all the necessary stuff, you will get a perfect score. I want you to back up your Word document to the cloud and also the PDF, just in case you need it later, you want to do a revision or something. I believe that is the end of this video. I thank you for watching. I hope everything is good. This is Steve Roitstein saying adios.